Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Larry.
Welcome to Manopod,
a podcast dedicated to men over 50.
Brought to you by Manopause.com.
Welcome to another Manopod. I'm Larry. This is Mike. And our distinguished guest today is Daniel Petrie Jr. He's a friend, a mentor, and a very successful writer and director. He's written Beverly Hills Cop, The Big Easy, Toy Soldiers, Turner and Hooch, and many, many more movies and TV shows that you know all about. So thanks for coming, Dan.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for having me. Manopause is so great.
Thank you. You like this, huh?
Yeah.
Can you tell what this says?
No, but once you explained it to me, I could figure it out.
Oh, okay, good. That's good. Listen, we want to get into this interview, but the funniest joke ever you told about 3 weeks ago when we were on the phone setting this up about.
Well, that joke is the story of my life.
Oh, okay.
These days, and it fits in with menopause because I'm like the guy who is at a cocktail party and says, "My wife and I stayed at this great hotel in San Francisco. Let's see, what's that flower that has red petals and thorns?"
Rose?
Yeah, Rose. What hotel did we stay at in San Francisco? But that's what I've turned into. I've turned into Rose.
That is hysterical.
And fits Manopause to a T.
To a T, yes.
So I'm sure most of our fans know you already, but you come from Hollywood royalty. Tell us about your family.
Well, my dad wrote in 1925, wrote a note to his to Santa Claus at his home in Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, saying that he would like for Christmas a motion picture camera. And sure enough, after leaving college in Canada, going to the Canadian Army, studying here, he became a television director. Wow. And then later a film director, and was responsible for such memorable TV shows as Eleanor and Franklin, which he won an Emmy for, and Eleanor and Franklin, The White House Years, and Harry Truman, Plain Speaking, all of which I think were Emmy winners. And he made movies like A Raisin in the Sun with Sidney Poitier.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh, thank you. Not that I had anything.
Right, no, but it was one of my all-time favorites.
Oh,
yeah.
It was a really good movie, and Poitier was magnificent. I later got to work with Sidney Poitier on a film called Shoot to Kill.
Oh, right. yeah.
And when he was introduced to one of the writers, me, and I was also one of the producers, Dan Petrie Jr., I saw his face. The expression on his face was like, that little kid has grown up, and now I'm getting that expression on my own face more and more.
And what about your mother and your brother?
My mother is a TV producer who has won more Emmy, I think, than my father did.
Wow.
And my brother is a director of movies such as Welcome to Mooseport and
Mystic Pizza.
Yeah.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or something.
Well, you know so much.
I know.
Did you read up on this?
I read up on this.
Oh, right.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think even your sisters were actresses.
My sister June was a development executive and scout for books, and worked at MGM and as a vice president, I think. And my sister, she now her husband is dean of a film school And so they live in Florida. She teaches there. My sister Mary was an actress, no longer active.
That's amazing.
Well, my daughter had the pleasure of training under Brad and June.
That's right.
June was her French teacher, and Brad was her theater her film teacher.
Oh, fantastic.
Great.
And that's how we met you.
And that's
Indirectly. Was through there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and you were kind enough to take a meeting with us, even though I know you had an alarm set for 15 minutes to get the hell out of there. But that's good. But, I'm intimidated by your family tree. How was it growing up with, because obviously you probably wanted to be in the business early on, living in that environment. How was that?
So my parents insulated us from the anxiety of being in the movie business, that we never thought anything was negative about it. We thought it was cool. We didn't think, however, that it was glamorous at all.
That's funny.
It was just everyday
It was work, right?
It was work. It was, my dad used to say he never wanted a 9-to-5 job, so he got a 5 to 9 job. And that's pretty much the hour.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we would get used to the idea that Dad would be home all the time, and then suddenly you'd see him less and less, and then he'd go away entirely, and then the family would move to wherever his location was to
Wow.
live there. And then eventually we'd move back.
Wow. So did you want to be a writer right away when you were younger, or did you think of directing? How did you get into writing?
When I was a kid, I remember, I think it had to be third grade. Is that when you are still printing in third grade
Yeah.
and not learning cursive? And I wrote we had an assignment to write a 2-page story, and I wrote it in the form of a screenplay.
That's interesting. In third grade?
In third grade.
Wow.
I had put in capital letters in the center, Nazi guard, and then his dialogue, which was, "Hi Hitler." I didn't know it was Heil Hitler. I thought they were saying "Hi Hitler."
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
That was my first screenplay.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
And you saw scripts around the
Scripts
house,
would
right?
be on the coffee table,
None of the
like,
other kids ever saw that, so
yeah.
you could kind of model from that, right?
Sure.
Oh wow.
Sure.
So your first big break was Beverly Hills Cop.
That's right.
What happened there?
Right.
How'd you get that, or how did you write that? How'd you come up with the idea?
Well, the idea was already there. There were 3 scripts prior to me, and they were looking for a new writer to come in and at that time I had just sold my first script. It was eventually filmed as The Big Easy, but Beverly Hills Cop was the first one to get done. I hadn't got paid yet for The Big Easy, but I heard about this project. They said they're looking for a new writer. Now you can imagine, if you've ever seen The Big Easy, with that as a writing sample, no one would hire you to do a comedy.
Right.
But they didn't think of Beverly Hills Cop as a comedy. They thought it as a police thriller about a guy who comes from out of town to Beverly Hills. But I had been working in Beverly Hills. I had a little office that was my mother's office before me. That was my one indulgence. It was $75 a month
In Beverly Hills?
for this office,
Wow.
because it was in a building that was called the Writers and Artists Building. It had cubicles upstairs, really tiny spaces for writers and some big spaces for artists. It was right at the corner of Little Santa Monica and Rodeo Drive. But I was a newly married guy who had no money. and I was trying to write full time. So in those days, sometimes you would have to wear a tie to a meeting if it was important. So I would go down the street to see if I could buy a tie, and I'd look at something that didn't seem too bad, and it's $400? No, you're kidding. I would hear outside my window a screech of brakes and a crunch, and I'd look out, and there would be the Mercedes and the Rolls tangled, and the two ladies who lunch pulling at each other's hair, and the poodle is escaping. To me, Beverly Hills, for a guy with no money, was funny.
Yeah.
It was a source of comedy every day. I would walk by art galleries and think, someone's going to buy that. Someone, oh my God, they'll have it in their homes for maybe years. And just people wearing these insane outfits. And so I thought somebody who's coming from a working class neighborhood to Beverly Hills to investigate a crime, that could be a funny premise. Fortunately, I don't come off funny, as you are seeing.
Oh, right.
I just seem like a regular slow-spoken guy. So they would hear me say, "I think this could be funny," but yeah, sure. But tell us about the story, and of course the story doesn't sound funny. A guy has bearer bonds, he's stolen, he's shot in the hallway, Eddie Murphy is knocked over the head. All of these things don't sound particularly funny. But once they read it, they liked the idea of having a funnier version of the script that they had, while still delivering on the
Action and everything else.
action
Right.
stuff. And of course, something that's funny costs less to make, usually. So, because it doesn't have to have as many chase scenes and action scenes. But the first actor who said yes to the movie was Sylvester Stallone. And
Oh, he's so funny.
And he saw the movie differently, but he was going to star in it until a month before shooting started. When I was rehired on the movie to rewrite Stallone without offending him, but the studio Paramount decided that they would make Stallone an offer about that he could say no to, and say, just give me my millions of dollars that you promised to pay me. But their offer was, if you take everything that Dan wrote for you when I was still on the picture, and that he wrote, which was much more different each time he went through, you can take all of that material, and so long as it's not a cop who comes from out of town to Beverly Hills, you can make another movie with that. And Stallone was a total gentleman about the whole thing, and he could have said, pay me, but said, no, I'll do that. I'll make another movie with that material. And
Thank God.
What
movie was it?
Was Cobra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which was very successful in its own right.
Yeah.
But that in the meantime, Eddie Murphy, who Paramount had been developing scripts for, those scripts, for whatever reason, didn't work or weren't ready, and they offered him Beverly Hills Cop, and he said yes. And so my
The
life
rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
suddenly changed.
We have to talk more about this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Would you mind doing part 2 with us?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd
'cause
be
there-
happy to.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
these
of
are
stuff
great
here.
stories.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you bet.
Thanks for coming, Dan.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Hi, Mike and Larry here, inviting you to spend some time at manopause.com.
It's a website dedicated to men over 50 and the people who love them.
That's right. Articles, videos, podcasts, and a community forum all here at manopause.com.
Hey, are you tired of everything from movies to fashion always being aimed at millennials?
I know I am.
Well, at manopause.com, we focus on you, guys over 50, with stuff you care about.
Like sports, sex, humor, health, entertainment, and business. It's all here.
Manopause.com.
Manopause.com. It's about time. Join the movement.